great. Fucking great. They now know at work. I thought I'd been getting some odd looks over the past few days. Although Jane Stanton was desperately trying to contain her glee, she couldn't quite manage it. She gave me a patronising half smile and a supportive rub on the shoulder. I managed a thank you through gritted teeth whilst fantasising about shoving her head down the toilet. Steve's told his family. Came out. His mother phoned me. She was stunned. I mean, stunned. There was a hint of accusation in her voice, as though I was to blame, like I hadn't held his attention in the bedroom. I felt like saying, it's your genes, don't start blaming me. But I didn't. She just kept going on about this guy she was at school with who was that way, and he'd had a really sad life. I said it's not the same now. But she wasn't listening. God knows why I had to start defending him. Habit, I suppose. Have you seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers? It's like gay aliens have taken him over. There was probably a pod growing in the attic. A sequined pod. My friends are really sympathetic. They say reassuring things like, you're not to blame. It wasn't your fault. You didn't turn him gay, and how could you have known? Which would be okay, I suppose, if I didn't think that secretly they were pissing themselves laughing. Which is unfair. They're not doing that at all. But there is something funny about stories like this, isn't there? I mean, if you're hearing them secondhand, not actually experiencing it. Because the thing is, if it happened to one of them, I'd have thought, how the fuck didn't you know? And that is the question that is going round and round in a loop in my brain. How could I not have known? Did I ignore the signs? I've been on websites where they have lists. Red flags to look out for, warning signs. But they're mostly joke things like, does he like musical theatre? Has he got a pink shirt? And does he have a poster of Kylie? But a couple of them really made me think. I mean, he was so clean and he kept the flat. He kept the flat really nice. I used to think I was so lucky to find a man who would clean up after himself. What a joke. And he'd cry too. That was another on the lists. I don't mean all the time, but he wasn't afraid to show his emotions. I thought that was a good thing. Showed that he was sensitive, a new man. I've got a gay friend called Matt. I could tell he felt really uncomfortable when he heard about Steve. I don't know, like it was guilt by association, like I'd take it out on him. I did ask him if he ever suspected anything, and his answer was a little bit too definite and emphatic to be totally convincing. I'm sure he thinks I'd kill him for not warning me if I found out he suspected. And he said it's an urban myth that gay men can spot each other at 200 yards. I'm not sure I believe him. Mum asked me if there was anything that struck me as odd at the time. I guess the only thing I can think of is once I was writing an email to a girlfriend and I didn't know how to spell Manolo Blahnik. He did. How would a straight man know that? I know I look like shit, but I wanted to get this down before I forgot anything. And it just carry on from my last post. I was out with some friends last night and we got talking about signs you should look out for. Warning signs. It was fun actually, and I'm not taking it too seriously. I think the word's cathartic. Anyway, these are not 100% or anything, just indications. Number 1, and I always think this is such a giveaway. Does he have girlfriends? I don't mean girlfriends, I mean girls who are friends, as in close friends. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because it's not, and it by itself is by no means conclusive. Could just mean that he's open and confident, or it could be that there's some genetic thing going on and he's looking for a fag hag mate. Another one was dress sense. Now this is a bit more problematic with the whole metrosexual thing. Men are taking a lot more care over their appearances, which is good. But if he starts trying to dress you, then maybe you need to start giving it some thought. Now I've talked about emotions and being clean in a previous post, so we won't go into that again. Michelle asked me if Steve ever got more than normally amorous after watching men's sports or a tops-off Rambo type action film. I can't really remember, but I will be keeping that in mind for the future. Talking of sports, Steve was never really interested in anything like that, football or anything, but I do know that some gay men are, so I'm not quite sure that that's conclusive. Oh yeah, is he homophobic? I think this is such a giveaway. Not that Steve was, but I always think that men who are have got something to hide. They protest too much. I saw him today. We had to talk about the flat. He looked different. He let his hair grow. Doesn't suit him, but it's not my place to say. Anyway, we were really polite. There was lots of, can I take your coat? Cup of coffee? Mum and Dad okay? Anything to avoid mentioning the pink elephant in the room. Anyway, we talked about the flat. The offer is crap, but as things are, any offer's worth considering. He wants to get rid. Seems quite eager. I suppose it represents, I represent, a chapter of his life he'd rather be finished with. Eventually I couldn't resist it any longer, so I said, "How's it going then, being gay?" He put on his "I don't really want to talk about it" face, so I didn't push him. But a minute or two later he came back to the same subject. "It's new," he said. "It's like being given a second start. I'm just sorry it had to be you who paid the price." Sally offered to buy Steve out and we'd share the mortgage. But I said I wanted to move on. Going back to Mum and Dad's for a bit. I think I'll wait for a while before I buy anywhere new. There's no point buying in a falling market, is there? Steve's using his half to open a tanning salon on Old Compton Street. A joke. I don't know what he's using his money for. I don't want to know. Opens up old wounds. I've eventually agreed to go on that blind date that Kim's been trying to set me up on. Richard works in advertising. Kim says that he is definitely straight. But still, I'm going to tread warily. I've been trying to work out how to casually drop into the conversation. "So Richard, got any Dolce & Gabbana in your wardrobe?"